is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, what's happening, guys? Good morning to you. It is Wednesday, December 18th, 2019, which means we only got one week before Christmas, before we're all sitting around the tree or hanging out with our families, celebrating another great year, another more good times with our families, and so I want you guys to take this next week, and really take some time to reflect on this year and kind of how this year has gone for you. And so I was doing some of that myself, over the past few days here, and so one of the things that I think is really important, and one of the things that I talk to a lot of the people that I coach about, is how to balance winning and losing, how to balance that in business, how to balance that in life. And I think that when we learn how to balance winning and losing in life, when we learn how to process those things, I think that life gets a lot more productive. It gets you can make a lot more progress in the things that you want to make. You feel a lot more fulfilled and balanced. There's not so much up and down, kind of feeling like you're on that roller coaster ride of life. That can be a difficult place to go, to be, And so I wanted to talk to you guys this morning about how I personally balance winning and losing in life and business. And, there's a lot of that, guys. And as you set goals for yourself, as you're trying to make progress, as you're trying to do different things or grow personally, grow professionally, maybe you're trying to work on your marriage, or you're trying to, have a better relationship with your kids. There's going to be wins and losses in all of those things that you do. And, being able to handle those and being able to get the most out of both wins and losses is a really important thing for your progress. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about that this morning, and I think this will be a really useful conversation because, again, I'm trying to talk about topics here leading up to the holiday that are really useful for these periods of time when we have a little bit of time to think. And so I think this one will be really good. So, but good morning, guys. Jeff, Dean, Trisha, Bruce, what's happening, guys? Thanks for jumping on early here. One of the things that I think is really important, and I think we all kind of know this inherently, but I don't think that a lot of people do a really good job at it from what I see when I'm coaching people. When we talk about winning and losing, the key to taking these things in stride and really getting the most out of winning and losing and being able to balance this stuff is just simply not getting too high and not getting too low when you win or you lose, right? So, and I'll give you guys my own personal life lessons. It's, every time in my personal life or my career that I have allowed myself or my team to celebrate a win that we've gotten for too long, it has never really served us well. It's always, kind of caused that chain reaction. We get a little too overconfident, or we get a little too comfortable. So when you have those wins, there's a balance. It's important. It's really important to celebrate wins, but it's also important to stay focused on where you're going, right? Not to spend too much time celebrating and not to get too high in any single moment, regardless of what you've accomplished, right? Because there's always more to do. And even if you've done something incredible, we've had some really good moments this year as a company, but early in this year, we were probably a little bit too comfortable as a company, and that did not serve us well. So we had some catching up to do because we got a little bit off our game, because I believe that we were we were celebrating last year, or in the back of our minds, we were a little too comfortable from everything that went so well for us last year, that we got a little too comfortable and we probably celebrated for a little bit too long. On the flip side, every time in my career or in my life that I have reacted to something that's happened in a negative fashion, either in a way that was slightly or significantly too extreme, I have significantly lost in a big way. And so I think it's important, to maintain kind of that emotional IQ, if you will, to be able to handle these types of things, to never get too emotionally high or low from wins and losses. And so I would assume that if you think about your life, if you think about, back to the times that you've been through some things, whether it's personally, professionally, whatever it is, that those statements that I just made are probably similar for you, right? It's, the lessons are the same almost for everyone. And hopefully you guys take the time to think about those moments and truly process those times, those moments where you either have wins or losses, because that's what it takes. It takes taking the time to process those things for you to be able to actually learn from those experiences. And that is the one thing that I see in today's society. I don't think that people take enough time to actually process their own mistakes, their own wins, they're just so distracted. There's so much noise in the world. And we are all challenged with it, right? We've got, the world of social media. We've got these things in our hands all day long, phones that we look at for hours and hours and hours a day. And I think that sometimes we just don't take the time to actually be able to benefit from those losses, or in some cases benefit from the wins, actually process what it took to get there. That is something that I have personally been working on for the last, several years, probably 3 years, is just, taking that time to kind of just process everything. And so I talk to you guys a lot about using a planner and being disciplined in that way to kind of document your journey and have a plan and have a strategy. And I think that far too few people in today's society are actually taking the time to get in a quiet place and be able to process this stuff. Because, I will tell you guys this, and I hope this statement, sticks in your brain and stays with you, because if you have a loss in your life that you don't gain from, man, what a shame that is. It's an opportunity for you to really take things to the next level. A lot of people's success, when you listen to the ultra successful, they always go back to those times where they lost. Some of the most defining times in my life have been, the toughest times, the times where, everything was going wrong. And so, you spend some quiet time with yourself. You try to, kind of untangle all of that. And the next thing you're back on track and you're headed in a positive direction. And that is really, really what I want you guys to take from this morning, is just remembering that, those tough times when you don't get what you want, when you work really hard and you just fall a little bit short, those times when you set an enormous goal and you almost get there, but you don't. How do you handle that? I'll give you an example. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and his company was doing so well this year that they adjusted their goal significantly higher, and then they fell just a little bit short of it, literally just this much short of it. And we had an extensive conversation about the importance of the communication of how you handle that loss, that falling short with your team. Because here's what we know. The team actually overachieved what the original expectation was, but we fell short, right? They fell short of what the adjusted expectation was, the significantly adjusted expectation was. And how you handle that and how you allow people to handle that will greatly define how they look at goals, how they look at losses, how they look at falling short forever. And so, again, it's about never accepting losses, never being okay with losing, but absolutely, it is absolutely imperative for you to have a conversation about what happened that got you to that point. Why did we fall a little short? Because we all know that if we fall a little bit short, there was absolutely the possibility for us to get it done. No question about it. If you fall this short, there was always a loss somewhere along the way there. There was a little minor adjustment that could have turned that into a win. But it's about handling those things without negative emotion pouring out, without having a too significantly extreme response to that, so that you can actually take the lesson from it. And so here's what I see, guys. When I'm talking to people about, maybe they're having a challenge in their business, they just feel kind of stuck, or they've had a lot of bad employees and they feel like it's just over and over and over again. They feel like they're in a rut, right? And one of my favorite quotes, I don't know who originally said it, but I know that Andy Frisella has shared it a couple of times, is the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth of the hole and how long you stay there. And that is the way that we have to look at life is, if you're in a rut, it's going to be okay, guys. You're not going to stay there. You're not in a grave. And so as I was preparing this morning, I just, one of the things that I wrote down is it's going to be okay. Nothing bad is going to happen to you when you lose. You're either going to learn from that lesson, from that loss, or you're not. And so, what I see so many times is that, and I'll tell you why I think people don't learn from their lessons here in a second. I just see so many times people skipping over that loss and not because they can't handle it. They have such high expectations for themselves. And I'm not sure where that comes from. We are all human. And so a couple more things that I wrote down this morning. Here is what I know for sure. I know for sure that I'm going to fall short on my responsibilities as a father at some point in my life, in my children's life. I'm going to fall short. We're human. You point out the perfect father, the perfect mother to me, and I will challenge you to say that there is something there that you are missing, because none of us are perfect. And I've already accepted that, right? I'm just trying to do the best job possible. I'm trying to be there in the most important moments, in those teachable moments for my kids, to turn them into the most productive and successful and responsible and respectful adults that I possibly can, that we possibly can, my wife and I. Another thing that I know is that I will fall short on my responsibilities as a husband, right? That's how it works, guys. You will fall short in every single aspect of your life. I will fall short as a business partner and as a leader inside my own company at some point. Partly, in that case, because we try to do so much. And the same would probably be true for the first two examples that I gave you. As a father, as a husband, as a business partner, as a leader, we are going to fall short because we're trying to juggle so much in life. And I will just ask you this question. I want you guys to really, really think about this morning. What is the alternative? If you are afraid to lose, what is the alternative? And if you are really, if you know your own emotions, if you're afraid of losses, where does that put you in life, in ultimately trying new things? Putting yourself out there, doing things that are uncomfortable, putting more on your plate than maybe you think you can handle at that given moment. How do we avoid failure? The only way that you avoid failure is really what I believe is the true definition of failure, which is not trying at all, which is not pushing yourself to a new level, which is not taking on too much, which is not trying to juggle everything that we try to juggle to become successful. And guys, that's just to me, that's no way to live, right? I've tried it both ways. I've tried, there was a point in my life where I tried to put on the brakes and simplify everything. And it was no way to live, I found myself inside my own head all the time, right? Overthinking everything because I wasn't busy enough. And so what I do now is I go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing as often as I can. And then when I get exhausted, I take a break. I sit on the couch. I, try to unplug as often, whenever I need to, as often as I need to. And my wife will tell you this. I will go a long time, weeks, with very little sleep, not on a healthy sleep schedule, if that's what it takes to get the job done. And then when I get to that breaking point, I stop. But I would tell you guys this, that putting the brakes on in your life every time that you feel failure, potential failure coming on, is no way to live, because those failures are going to become your greatest gifts. And so, the importance of taking wins and losses in stride in life literally is going to determine how fast you can accelerate through the process of success. And it doesn't matter what aspect of your life you're talking about, that's it. That's where it comes from. Success comes from lessons. You either have to learn from someone else's experiences or you have to learn from your own. But the reality is, and you can learn from other people's wins just as much as you can learn from their losses. And this is where the importance of mentorship comes in. The importance of listening to things like this, because I'm not saying anything new here, guys, but we all learn by repetition, by listening over and over and over and over again, and listening to things presented to us in different ways. The reason that I follow and learn from a variety of different people, why there's, hundreds of books in my house that are from different authors. I want to hear different people's perspectives so that I can take things and implement those into my life in different ways. That is exactly the way that you have to look at winning and losing. If you watch other people and how they win and lose, you can learn a lot. And then the second step to that is the most important one, is watching yourself as you win and lose. So imagine taking yourself out of your body and looking at yourself from a 30,000 foot view and watching yourself when you win and watching yourself when you lose. And ask yourself this question: are you proud of that person for the way that they handle things? Is that person truly being educated by the success or by the failure that they experience in their life? Are they taking the time to process it? And most importantly, this is the most important part of what I think people fall short on in this category, is that person actually telling themselves the truth about wins and losses? Or do they play the blame game? Do they point fingers? Do they, constantly deflect? Do they, push off responsibility or try to have somebody else be responsible with them? Or do they own it all by themselves? Do they shoulder that responsibility? And I will tell you guys that when you're looking for your circle, when you're evaluating your circle, as we talked about this week, and you're looking, over the holidays and you're taking some time to think, you want to be around those people that take responsibility. And you want to be around those people that take the time to think about the wins and losses and actually process them and do it all with grace. Because those people that celebrate too much, or those people that get way too down, that is not a place that you want to be, because it is just a constant up and down roller coaster of life. And so everybody wants to be around those people that stay calm under pressure, those people that provide balance and motivation and inspiration in the toughest of times, right? Where everything can be going wrong, and you look to that person to guide you out. And it takes practice, guys. It takes a lot of quiet time thinking about what's going on in your life. If you are not taking quiet time, and I ask this question to a lot of people, and a lot of people respond in the way that I would imagine they would. They say that they take very little quiet time between their family life, their business life, all the things that they've got going on. They don't have a lot of time to get to a quiet place and actually process things. And so I would encourage you guys to change that in your life if you don't do it right now. And you got to take literally at least 30 minutes a day of downtime where you can not be active on your phone. You're not on your computer. You're just kind of processing things, and you're thinking about the future. You're thinking about the lessons. You're thinking about the wins, the losses, how things went this year, how they can be better next year. It takes quiet time, guys, to think. You got to get the noise out of your environment and out of your head to be able to process these things. And I'm telling you, the learning that you will experience when you are able to get some quiet time, to get the noise out of your head for a minute, will be exceptional for you. It will change your life. I promise you. Eli, do you have any advice on how somebody could pivot from a situation that puts them in a rut? I mean, the first thing that I can tell you, and anybody that's on my team will tell you, is that we don't spend a lot of time talking about where we're at in that rut. We try to accept it for what it is, and then we try to just kind of go into action, starting to come up with a solution. I actually just did this on the phone with somebody yesterday that's in a little bit of a rut. And what I said to him was, what a lot of people do is we get focused on what put us in the rut. And so we don't get focused on the path out of the rut. What is the solution to get out? So we need to detach ourselves from the frustration, all the emotions that go with how we ended up in a rut, and worrying about who put us there, what put us there, all that stuff. And we need to focus all of our energy on creating action that can get us out. And then we need to create a timeline on something that's reasonable. And so the advice that I gave him yesterday was, you've got some historical data on how you've run your business and, what successes look like in the best situations and what it looks like in average situations. And so what you need to do is figure out a timeline of how you can dig yourself out, because here's what we do. As I will speak for men specifically. I've seen women and men do this. Like we try to fix everything in a day. And it doesn't happen that way. It took a long time, most of the time, to create a situation where you end up in a rut or a chain reaction of bad decisions. A lot of times it's not just one singular decision that puts you there. And so we try to get out in one day. We try to put all of our energy into trying to get out, and it doesn't work. And so, we're trying to climb out of the hole, and we fall back in. And we get, again, emotionally, negative emotions flying around everywhere. And so what I will tell you is plan for it to be a process to get out, and set reasonable but aggressive goals of how you're going to do that. And then it's, exactly. That my dad used to say when I was a kid, the first thing you do when you find yourself in a hole is stop digging. And a lot of us don't. We may think that we're not digging, but the reality is that we're going deeper and deeper and deeper into that hole because we didn't really take the time to create a plan to get out of it. We're just trying to leap our way out, and it's exhausting. What you have to do is figure out and be honest about how long it's going to take, and literally detach yourself from all of those negative emotions of why it happened and the frustration you're experiencing because you're in a rut, and realize that everybody is going to be there at some point. You're not alone. It's not about you going through that. It's everybody in life is going to experience that in some way, shape, or form. And we were laughing yesterday because I was talking about when you're in your 20s and you have these things that are like terrible in your life, and you think that's bad, and then you get to this and it's different problems and this problem, and it's like then you have kids and a wife and your problems change. And the reality is that it's about taking those problems and having some grace while you're in the rut, having some grace with yourself, having some grace with the people who contributed to the problem and put you there, and literally just staying calm, clear your head, and create a plan. And then spend all of your time taking action towards getting out of the rut. Because here's what I've learned in life. When I have white space on my calendar, when I am not taking action or I'm not busy, I have a lot of time to rethink those negative things that happened, those things that caused me to be in that rut or in that hole. And those things will never serve us. You know, how we got somewhere is a combination of a lot of things. And by the way, most of the time, we're not 100% clear on everything in that situation because we're looking from our own perspective. We don't always see a crystal clear 360-degree perspective. And so it doesn't serve us to talk about what got us there. It serves us to create a strategy and take massive action. Spend all of your time taking action towards closing the gap of what you just lost and the amount of time that you lost, the amount of money that you lost, and again, work towards it. And within a month, a couple of weeks, depends on the size of the problem, you'll start to see that progress. But the reality is that talking about the problem will not help you win, ever. What will help you win is setting a strategy to get out of the rut, getting out of the rut, and then reflecting on the process, reflecting on that whole process, so that the next time you encounter something like that, you will recognize it probably before it happens. But remember, guys, I'm telling you, like, growth comes from both winning and losing. And you got to take the time to process it. You know, you got to take the time to process your days, weeks, months. And the best way that you're going to be able to do that is to discipline yourself to write in a planner so you can look at what you had going on, where your wins were, where your losses were. And again, the most important thing that you can do in any aspect of life, but certainly when it comes to wins and losses, is tell yourself the truth. What role did you play in both, in wins and losses? And then verify that information with others. You know, ask others what their opinion is and try to gather a 360-degree perspective of how other people see things. And that's the most important thing that you can do, is tell yourself the truth. And, you know, as you do that, you're going to build up, this calm about you that allows you to deal with these problems a lot better. You know, the people that I go to for my problems can tell you, I'm not always calm, but I'm a lot calmer than I was 3 years ago. And that's what I'm working towards. It's a process, guys. And, you know, so no matter where you're at in this process, you have to continue working at it. And I'm telling you, that quiet time, that discipline that you have to write in a planner, to think about your goals, to visualize where you're going, to think about everybody that's on your team and what they need and what they want and how you can serve them and how you can serve the people who are in your life. How these wins and losses have affected those people, how they've affected you. And when you do that, when you take the time to process all of these things, I promise you, your life is going to get so much better and it's going to feel so much more calm. Because the reality is, I said it earlier, I'll say it again, no matter what happens, no matter how big of a loss you experience, it's going to be okay. As long as you open your eyes tomorrow morning and put your feet on the floor and you get another chance to do this over again, it's all going to be okay. I promise you, it's all going to be okay. And that comes down to how you evaluate and look at all of these things. You know, if you want to ride the emotional roller coaster of life, boy, there's a lot of seats on that thing. And I see people do it every single day. But it does not look like an enjoyable life. And so, take the time to process these things. Think about where you're at right now, in your life with regard to these things. We all have room for growth. But at the end of the day, you have to think about where you're at and where you want to get to. And then what your life will look like if you are successful at evolving into a person that has this type of balance. And I can tell you from my own experience, again, I'm on the journey just like you guys, but from, being a person who didn't always handle this well or had a lot of room for growth, to a person that I feel like I've made a lot of progress, it's a lot better where I'm at right now. And I would encourage you guys to spend some time thinking about that, where you're at, where you want to be. And as always, if you guys need some help or you want to talk about something, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to jump on a call. I made that offer yesterday, and a couple people reached out, and I had a couple phone calls. And it's cool to be able to do that with people. It's cool to be able to point people in the right direction and have some kind of impact on somebody else's life. So I'm always here if you guys want to talk, and just shoot me a DM on whatever platform you want to find me on, and I'd be honored to have the conversation with you. So that's it for today, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I will see you again tomorrow morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys.